Well, I want to talk a little bit about how you guys put together some of the sketches. The 7th Floor West, why don't you just kind of tell me where the very basic original idea came from, and we'll go from there.
Well, Amy writes 7th Floor West and produces it as well as Blyden directs it, so they sort of work on that together. And I think, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that came about when we were just talking about pre-tapes or roll-ins or things that we don't do live during the show. When we were looking for ways to make things that were kind of part of the culture that would, that we felt the audience would connect to, and reality TV shows are something that Jimmy's a huge fan of. He loves he likes The Hills and things like that. So, and then Amy, who I believe stepped forward because she was a fan of the show as well, and we thought that she would be the perfect person to capture the voice of it. So, am I right about that?
And you were wrong.
Oh, that's wrong.
No, it was. I feel like most of the great things in our show originate with Jimmy, and that's an example of something that did. He just loves reality TV, and he said, "I love The Hills. We should parody The Hills." And I said, "I love The Hills too. Like, I'll write that." And it's fun. It's great. Like these episodes are scripted, but when we shoot them, there's a lot of improvisation that goes on, which is, I think, what makes the process really fun. And he gets to play with it a little bit. And Miles, you're in them. You can talk about that too. Yeah. But it's fun to watch these guys go back and forth and kind of make stuff up as they go along. It's really fun.
Now, Amy, did you submit a packet to get the job?
I did, and it was actually odd submitting for a show that didn't exist yet, because I feel like a lot of people here, I'd submitted to other shows before, and if you're writing a Letterman packet, you say, oh, I have to write top 10 lists. I know what that is. I can look at old ones and figure out what to write. But for this show, there was no show. There was no prototype. So it was interesting because you just have to write ideas that you think are funny and hope that they aligned with what Jimmy's voice was. And I think that they just picked people who felt like they were writing in the same voice. But it's a cool thing.
Do you put this packet just in a regular envelope, or is this in like some kind of special?
It's gilded envelope.
Did you guys come up with the whole kind of, I hate to say this, narrative arc of the 7th Floor West for the whole, I don't know, for 6 months ahead of time, or did you when you started it, were you already thinking pizza party? And,
No, we actually didn't think that was going to be a recurring bit when we started.
Yeah, the first one we did, we thought was going to be more of a one-off, like here's just a parody of The Hills, and then the response that we got from the audience was like, a lot of the recurring sketches on the show, most of them start off as one-offs, and then you tend to go back to the well that keeps producing. And so when the response was so good to 7th Floor West, we decided to keep going.
And the odd thing about that show is it's tough to write too far ahead for it, because it's a weird thing to be shooting a scripted version of something that's supposed to seem like a documentary. So in a lot of ways, you have to play off of the improv that happens in the earlier episodes to create the arc for the future ones. So it makes it tough to write too far ahead. That can be infuriating at times.
Is the Miles character based at all in reality?
Yes. Miles is the evil villain of the show, and that's exactly what he's like.
Yeah.
Conniving, underhanded.
Talk me through the logistics of filming something like that, as you're obviously putting a show together almost every day. I mean, is it?
Yeah, it's definitely one of the harder aspects of these shoots, because we shoot them. That one, one of the things we liked about that idea was that it took place in our office, so it allowed us to shoot while we were working. And the person who plays Jimmy's assistant in the show was his actual assistant at the time. So we were, and all the writers are obviously actual writers, and so it was this very strange balancing act of having to produce something and knowing that it was for the good of the show, but also kind of being infuriated because you were also trying to make the show for that night. And while it was happening, Blyden's like, hey, would it be too much trouble if we threw up about 85 lights in your office and pointed a camera at you while you were trying to work? But it's hard, but ultimately I think it's worth it.